AOSP, Brookline, Springfield. It's time for the starting lineup with Scott Purdy, Ned Reynolds, and Art Haynes on 102.1 The One. Always the sure bet.
And we very much appreciate you being with us on the starting lineup, brought to you by Play It Again Sports in the Fremont Shopping Center, Battlefield and Fremont, Springfield, Swing Right Golf at the south end of Campbell Avenue, just a little bit north of Nixa, Marshfield Chevrolet at the I-44 exit, a couple of left turns onto the North Outer Road, and you're right there at Marshfield Chevrolet, and Citizens Bank of Rogersville with two locales, one adjacent to Highland Springs and the other in Rogersville itself. I'm Ned Reynolds along with
Scott Purrier
and Art Haynes.
Good morning, Arthur.
Morning, guys.
We're going to talk a little baseball before we get to the Masters and all other things going on. But special guest with us was one of pitching standouts for the first Drury baseball team when Mark Stratton brought it back in 2006-07. Had two outstanding years on the mound for Drury back then, and ever since then he's been in some form of baseball, whether it was collegiately or professionally. That included a stop at Mizzou as the pitching coach. Now Ricky Meinhold is the pitching coordinator for the Toronto Blue Jays entire organization. We welcome in Ricky this morning. Ricky, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Yeah, you're bright and early down. Actually, you're an hour ahead of us down there in Florida, doing your job with the Blue Jays, and you got a specific task this time, correct?
Yeah, here with our low A group, we have some major league. We were going to have major league rehabs. We were supposed to have two. Now we're going to have one. The other one got called up to the big leagues quick. So excited to be here with the guys. We're into 2026. I thought spring training just was yesterday, but the regular season is on and running. So here we go.
Blue Jays pitching staff as a whole, or do you like the talent level in this organization?
Yeah, I think. I'm entering into my third season with the Blue Jays, and I think we've created a philosophy and a standard that we are proud of, and we're aggressively acquiring talent to move the needle and push the floor up to help the depth for our major league team. But overall, from top to bottom, major leagues all the way down to the Dominican, I feel really good about where we're at and how we're pushing forward.
Now, Ricky, one of your big charges is overseeing the top prospect who came up and was just gangbusters on the headlines. This is Trey Yesavage we're talking about out of East Carolina. But he is hurt at the moment. What is his situation?
Yeah, I think he just came into spring training. I mean, you got to think about it this way. He was a first-year professional, and he started in we bring our guys in at the end of January, early February for spring training, and he didn't stop till the World Series or Game 7 of the World Series. So he had a long year. That's obviously unprecedented to have a first-year player do what he did. And so he had kind of a situation in the offseason where he was a little barky in the shoulder, and so he just took some time, and we're trying to get him back to be the version of himself last year, and he's well on his way to do that, and we're really excited where he's at. But, yeah, he's a special kid, and really excited to get him back in Toronto and help our major league team win.
Ricky, above your pay grade, I guess, with the salary structure in Major League Baseball, but the Blue Jays seem like below the Dodgers and the Yankees. They're quite competitive in that regard.
Yeah, I think we're very, very fortunate. We have our group has full confidence in our ownership that we can do what we need to do to put a successful team and organization out there. We're fortunate. We're owned by the AT&T of Canada, so Rogers ownership group has the resources to supply, and they do so in so many ways, if not just on payroll, but how they take care of their people inside the organization, as well as the complexes and the facilities that we're fortunate enough to use every single day. They've definitely invested a lot in us, and we're very grateful for it.
Ricky, in your pitching coordinator role, we want to find out more about what that includes, but I know you work with guys from new draft picks to all the way up to the major leagues, and I don't know if you know this, but maybe professional athletes might have a little bit of an ego from time to time. But, I mean, you got guys on your roster at the big leagues like Dylan Cease and Max Scherzer and Kevin Gossman. When you approach them, do they have to approach you for help, or what do you see, or how does that relationship form with a new guy like yourself in the organization, just 3 years, and those guys have been around for quite a while?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. There's this thing that we talk in baseball a lot about is feel. and feel for people, feel for the moment, feel for situations. I think naturally the title of what I do for a living kind of naturally enters me into conversations and situations and being around people like you just mentioned pretty naturally. And I think each individual has their own thought process. Like I've had a relationship with Max for a little while over the last a long while actually. Kevin now, this is year 3, and Dylan met him obviously when he showed up in January or early February. And I think that it's assumed that there's things that this job or this job can offer those players. And I think you just take it naturally. Like if they want something, they'll come straight to me. If I have something and I've developed trust in a relationship, I'll go straight to them. I don't have any like boundaries or walls built up in between the ability to get people better or to have a conversation. I think the one cool thing about, I was mentioning our resources, we have a complex in Dunedin, which is west of Tampa, which is where our spring training complex is. We just, in 2020, 2021, they built a $100 million facility, and it's unbelievable. And the cool thing about that facility is the major league and minor league teams are like this. There's no like separation. Like Cardinal fans know that there's one building, and then the minor league sides are in the back, and then the major league side's right behind that building in Jupiter. In Toronto, like we're all together. So the players are lifting, like Vladdy's lifting right next to a rookie ball player. Obviously times are different during the day where we structure certain things, but they can walk in there and they can have baseball conversations all the time. And in our locker rooms, it's kind of a U shape. We can just walk in a U and see both sides of everything. And so there's opportunity. I think it always goes back to relationships and people and things of that nature. Like if they trust you, they want what you know. And I've been asked this question a million times of what's the difference between a minor league player and a major league player. And it's really not that. There's a very fine line, obviously talent and status and all that stuff, but big leaguers want to be coached just as much as A-ball players. And I think that's something that we're fortunate enough to realize when you're in this game and in it for as long as we have been, and just be ready whenever they talk to you. That's kind of the deal. But there's no barriers. It happens all the time. Conversations are normal. So
how would you define the difference between a pitching coordinator in an organization and a pitching coach?
Yeah, really good question. So pitching coordinator, I would myself, and we have a director of pitching as well, who's more front office facing, as well as bigger vision philosophy that I kind of work with on a day-to-day basis. A pitching coordinator and the director of pitching are the kind of the leaders of the department. And then we are challenged with creating, obviously, the philosophies and standards of the organization in the pitching department, as well as the logistics day-to-day of getting players better, getting staff better, getting coaches better. So we are their first line of defense and first person to kind of help them grow, whether it's a player, staff member in our department, or coach. And so the difference is the boots on the ground are the coaches. So there's pitching coaches at each affiliates and in the major leagues that are in the grind every single day, trying to win a ball game, trying to get players better. Pitching coordinator is the one who's the 50,000-foot view, who helps lead them, helps navigate problems and create solutions, and then be a sounding board for them, as well as encourage them and lead them in being the best version of themselves as players, staff, and coaches.
But Ricky, in your role, you certainly have your own game plan in mind as far as spring training. The older players, do they have their own training regimen that they like to follow, and does that really meet with you? Yeah.
So obviously in spring training, the pitching coordinator really shines in spring training. Spring training doesn't run without the buildup of pitchers. As you all know, we got to get ready for the season. So pitching runs spring training. And so I'm kind of like the guy who makes everything work in spring training from the major leagues all the way down, because we got to make sure the pitchers are getting what they need and so on and so forth. From a program's perspective, do our pitchers have an idea of what they're trying to get out of in spring training? 100%, whether it's a major league pitcher or a minor league pitcher. But the pitching coordinator, in consulting with the pitching coaches, builds the players up. And so we dictate kind of like how they go from A to B. the one thing in this organization that is different than the other two organizations I've worked in Major League Baseball is we really, and I truly believe this, and I'm fortunate enough that our group is very similar to this, is the player has a lot to do with the conversation of what's going to happen to them. And so they are leading it just as much as I'm leading them. So it's never like Ricky says, hey, Ricky said we're going to do this. This is what we're doing. It's more like, hey, we had a conversation. We think this is best. Where are you at this? And then the player kind of gets on board and we go. So we never are like dictatorship of like, hey, you're throwing 5 innings today no matter what. Or you're going to throw this pitch no matter what. It's more of a conversation and a relationship that we build up to allow the player to have control of their career, but also be the guiding force in their career. So that varies from the major leagues all the way down. But like I said earlier, players like to be coached. So they want what you know. And you have to earn that trust to be able to give it to them and for them to believe in it. And we're fortunate that we have a group here that our players are very invested in and trust. So it's pretty cool.
Ricky, how did you get to Drury, signing on with a startup program?
Oh, that could go on for days, but I'll give the short version. So I don't know if all of you know this, but I actually went to middle school at Cherokee Middle School, and I went to Kickapoo High School for a couple of years before my family rerouted us to California, where my dad is from. And in that process, obviously created some relationships, was a decent athlete, played football, basketball, baseball, swam at Kickapoo, and I guess I made a little bit of I guess Coach Stratton knew of me a little bit when I was in 8th grade and freshman year. And Coach Pittman at Kickapoo obviously led me well. I was probably a little pest that he hated, but he led me well. And so when I moved away, I was actually committed to University of the Pacific out of high school. And then they had a coaching change. I was going to play both outfield and first base as well as pitch, and then they cut my scholarship in half once they had the coaching change. So I had to make a decision, and I ended up going to a junior college in California because I couldn't afford to go to University of Pacific on the scholarship they cut. And was an All-American my freshman year, and my sophomore year going into it, I was trying to look for schools. And so when I was little, I had a best friend who her name is Molly Miller, obviously. Absolute stud. We could talk about her too for hours. I'm super proud of her and what she's doing with her life and her career and her family. But we were really, really close when we were kids. And so when I was looking for schools, I actually verbally committed to San Jose State. And at that time, San Jose State was in the College World Series a couple years before that. And so I was pretty excited to go there. And Molly reaches out and she said, hey, Drury's going to have a baseball program. You should take a look. I was like, Molly, I've already verbally committed. I don't want to change my word to that coach. She's like, I'm going to give your number to Coach Stratton. And Coach Stratton called very, very quickly and asked me to come out for a visit. And I missed seeing Molly and her family. And so to be honest with you, I took it as like, I'm going to go see the Carter family. Like, I want to go see them and say hello and see what Drury's all about. But there's no shot I'm going there, like that kind of thing, which was naive and dumb. But then I showed up, and Coach Stratton, you all know him well, is an unbelievable human being and can sell anything. But I walked on campus, and I was just blown away. Going down Drury Lane was like home, and I was freaking out with my parents because I was like, this is way too good. Like, I didn't expect this kind of deal. And then I was a junior. I was going to be a junior, and I stayed on campus for my visit with Chris Marston and some of the freshmen that were already there because I was going to have to transfer in the spring semester to be able to do it. And anyways, long story short, I was blown away, felt like it was home. I missed being in Missouri. I'm a Missouri kid. Yeah, I lived in California like part of my life, but I was born in St. Louis, and I call Springfield home, and I've always said I'm from Springfield, even though the thing in my bio said I was from San Jose, California. Ended up, I remember leaving. We were making a trip because I had my aunt and uncle live in Pennsylvania, and my grandma lives in Pennsylvania. So we were coming from California, but going to Missouri and then continuing on to Pennsylvania to go visit them. And I remember getting in the car, going to the airport right after the visit, and called Coach Stratton. I said, if you could send the letter of intent tomorrow, I'll sign it. But if you don't, I'm going to San Jose State. And he sent it overnight to my grandmother's house. I signed it, and that was all she wrote.
Wow, and it remains one of the great stories in sports history locally. I mean, a startup program, first-year program made from scratch, goes on and wins the GOEC conference tournament to get an automatic bid to the NCAA tournament, and went to Akron, Ohio, and played well there as well. Is it hard to believe it's been 20 years, and this is kind of the anniversary of it? I know they're going to do some things at their alumni game, I believe, on the 25th of April, but do you stay in touch with a lot of those guys, and is it still one of those stories that you love to tell about that first-year team?
Yeah, I get goosebumps thinking about it. It's obviously special. Yeah, I think about it all the time. We still have our little group chats, so we pop in there every once in a while and talk a little junk to each other. Obviously, very, very grateful to be around those guys and start the standard of what Drury baseball is about. I was actually at the games at Drury last week. Popped in for a couple innings with my kids on Thursday, and then my wife and I and our kids, and I was actually sitting next to RJ Neese and his wife and their kids on Saturday, which that was pretty awesome. So I'm really proud of the program, really proud of how Metter looks right now. It's unbelievable. Beautiful stadium, obviously not anywhere close to what it was in 2007. But grateful for that experience. I think those guys will always be close. I remember like Dan Mullis just texted me, his wife and him were in Phoenix for the women's Final Four, and sent him some tickets to go see a Diamondbacks game, which was cool to be able to do. And then obviously Harry and I are pretty close. Our kids play sports together, and we live a couple miles away from each other. But I think a handful, Blake Evans, Tony Lewis, obviously those guys, Michael York, we kind of stay in touch a little bit. I wish I could do a better job of that, but I'm a little bit busy, as are they. But yeah, it's just a pretty cool thing to think back on. 20 years, yeah, that freaks me out a little bit. That means I just hit the 40 mark, so that just tells you that I'm getting older, and I know that you Scott, and Ned are doing great for I know probably if I asked you, Scott, the question, if it's been 20 years, you'd freak out as well.
Yeah, I freak out every day. So,
Ricky, let me ask you a very quick question here. When you and the team gathered together for the first time, and Coach Stratton says, well, we've been picked for last place and all that sort of thing in the conference, what was the overall attitude?
Yeah, I don't think we cared. We knew what we signed up for. We knew it was a first-year program. We knew that everybody didn't care about us, but we knew every day in practice we had talent. We just had to go about our business the right way. And I think the one thing I'll never forget about that team, and it's similar to our team that we had in Toronto last year, which gave me some weird vibes personally, but we cared about each other. We went and did everything together. We were a very tight-knit group that first year. And it showed on the field. When we had some struggles, we pushed forward. So I don't think anybody in that locker room, in that clubhouse, doubted each other. We knew we were good. Just we needed to prove it to everybody else every single day we were out there. So special people. And I wish I could be there on the 25th. I will not be able to be there. I'll be home for the next couple of weeks, but then right before that happens, I got to hit the road again. So unfortunately, we'll not be there for that. And but I'll be there in spirit for sure.
Ricky, appreciate your time. We could do this for several more minutes. Good to catch up with you. We'll talk Major League Baseball with you down the road. We got lots of questions there. And I'll just say this, while you were at Drury, I wondered why you spent so much time at the women's soccer games and you were scouting out your wife, Hillary, and making that letter commitment. That was a good move on your part, by the way.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk soon. Thanks, Ricky.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Thanks, Matt.
That's Ricky Meinhold with the Toronto Blue Jays visiting with a quick timeout on the starting lineup, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to The Starting Lineup with Scott Purrier, Ned Reynolds, and Art Haynes on 102.1 The One.